Hello, my name's John Wadsworth. I'm an astrologer and this is my video blog for Monday the 13th of June 2011. We're in the middle of a very exciting eclipse season. We've had a partial solar eclipse a couple of weeks ago, the 1st of June. We had a partial solar eclipse in Gemini, and we have another partial solar eclipse on the 1st of July, and I'm going to spend some time talking about that because that's very significant astrologically. But I'm going to begin just by talking about the lunar eclipse, the total lunar eclipse that's happening in 2 days' time on Wednesday. It's Wednesday the 15th of June. Just as the moon rises, as the sun sets on Wednesday evening and the moon rises about 9:30, the moon will actually appear blood red as it rises in the eastern horizon. It's actually going to rise sort of east-southeast. And so if you look in that direction, you'll see a blood red moon rising, and it's going to stay that colour, it's going to stay red for at least half an hour, and then gradually it will sort of reveal itself as an ordinary full moon over the coming hour up to about 11 o'clock, and you'll see it then in its normal way. The reason we have a lunar eclipse is because the Earth is exactly between the sun and the moon, on exactly the same trajectory, and it's the shadow of the Earth, the casting of the shadow of the Earth across the moon that creates this effect of a lunar eclipse. Because of course the moon doesn't give us any light directly, all the light that we see of the moon is the reflected light of the sun. So with the Earth in between, that shadow is cast across the moon. This was a very significant event, always has been for astrologers. I've always considered a lunar eclipse to be a very significant event, full of portent and omen. And in the middle of such intense astrological times as we're currently going through, this lunar eclipse clearly carries significance. It's happening in the signs of, the sun is in Gemini, in tropical zodiac, the moon is in Sagittarius at 23, 24 degrees. So if you have any planets at 23 or 24 degrees of particularly Gemini and Sagittarius, also Virgo and Pisces, you're going to feel the effect of this lunar eclipse very powerfully. And it could be a crisis moment, but also a moment of great opportunity. It's another of those intensely focused moments of opportunity. A lunar eclipse can bring a sudden awakening. It can put us in fear because we are confronted or challenged at this time. It carries a sort of reverberation. A lunar eclipse can carry a reverberation for up to 6 months, and so the energy of this opposition, this pulling of light and shadow, of the sun representing our self-expression, our heart force, our light, and the moon is the power of memory, the power of the past, the power of our reflected light. It's more about our inner self which seeks home, which seeks a sense of connection. It's that more sensitive part of us. These two are in opposition, which creates awareness. It also creates a lot of tension. So it's likely to carry a lot of tension this full moon, but again, potentially also a great awakening. A sense of realization can happen over this time. I'd like to say something now about the solar eclipse on the 1st of July. And astrologically, I think this is actually the most significant of all the eclipses of this year, and perhaps the most significant date astrologically for the whole of 2011. I've spoken before, and as have many other astrologers, on the Cardinal Grand Cross. We were talking about it a lot in 2010 when it was very precise. Well, we're now seeing the return of the Cardinal Grand Cross. This solar eclipse brings it back very sharply into focus. Saturn has retrograded back to 10 degrees of Libra. We have Pluto at 7 degrees of Capricorn, and Uranus at 4 degrees of Aries. And the Sun and the Moon over this solar eclipse, albeit a partial one, this solar eclipse on the 1st of July, is at 10 degrees of Cancer, making up the fourth arm of the Cardinal Cross. So the whole Cardinal Cross is precise within 6 degrees, which makes it very strong, very powerful, and I think another millennial moment. I talk a lot about these millennial moments, these portals, these gateways. And I think this is where, for a lot of people, especially people with planets in the cardinal signs, personal planets in Aries, Libra, Cancer or Capricorn, if you have personal planets in those signs, particularly in the first 10 degrees of those signs, then you're going to feel this very, very personally. And again, it's a time where a lot of things might come to a head, where things that you might have been struggling with, relationship issues, work issues, areas in your life where you're not really in line, where you're not in integrity, where you're having to compromise. This is a very uncompromising astrological picture. The transit will challenge any area where you're just making do, where you're kind of over-accommodating in a relationship or a situation, and it will really make you look at what is most true for you in your heart. And you're more likely at this time both to feel the fear of change, it is uncomfortable, that this kind of ground cross energy is uncomfortable, but it also compels us to be true. It compels us to act from that place that we all know deep down within us what we should be doing, where we should be going, the kind of relationships that we need to be in, the kind of vocational path that we need to be following. That these have to be in line for us over this time. And I think this is the key to really being able to transition through this time. And we're building up to 2012. The Uranus-Pluto square is perfecting, it's becoming exact over the next 12 months. It gets to within 1 degree this year. So over this summer, the intensity for revolutionary change, we're going to see it globally, we're seeing it all over the place. We're seeing the forces of fear also rising to a crescendo, the forces of love and the power of possibility of who we could be, who we could become, and how we could turn around some of the situations in our world. These things really come to a head again this summer, are coming to a head this summer. We may see some major events, world events, that are reflected in this solar eclipse, particularly on the 1st of July, and how that unfolds over the next 6 months. So that as we move into 2012, I think we're going to, again, the intensity is rising, the acceleration of change is increasing, and that's going to keep happening. And I think that this square between Uranus and Pluto is going to act out. It is the big 2012 transit. There's so much talk about 2012. Well, Uranus-Pluto defines that for us as Western astrologers, how that works itself out as it makes its exact square in the signs of Aries and Capricorn. We have Jupiter's now moved into Taurus, so some of the heat of that ground cross has now shifted with Jupiter's move, but we still have Uranus and Pluto there. Saturn is there, holding the integrity, making us account for our actions. Saturn forces us to account for our actions. It doesn't let us get away with anything. And Uranus is making us more radical. It's making us really be true to our own radical nature. And Pluto is there transforming, forcing us to let those things die that are no longer part of us, and to touch our power, to touch the power that lies in our shadow side, in our shadow nature, and to bring that out more and more as these times unfold. I'll be sharing more soon about this picture, but I hope that's been useful. My name's John Wadsworth. You can find out more about my work at www.kairosastrology.co.uk.